All right, welcome in. Edge Let's Talk Sports podcast, YouTube. Check me out. Happy 4th of July. It's Thursday at 5. You know what time it is. It's time for some UFC highlights from UFC 317 because we are off this week. No UFC fights. What are we going to do? Go watch some fireworks. Hey, I'm watching some golf on Sunday, so there you go. And then we have a UFC fight night next week. Stay tuned for next Thursday, and we're going to get it popping. But always be ready. Thursday at 5 is when it drops. Either a little earlier or a little later, depending on how my editing goes. All right. So we got some UFC news to talk about. Actually, hold up. Wait a minute. Rewind. We have a new segment that we're doing. And obviously, I just forgot about it already, even as we're going into this start of the show here. So we're going to do it right off the rip, off the top. And Who You Got is the new segment we're doing off the UFC 317. Who You Got. This was just a couple of days ago when I dropped this. So if you haven't watched it yet or haven't seen anything yet, on Fridays of fight week, so I have the show on Thursday at 5, and then I do a Who You Got, drop it on my post on my YouTube, and then we get some comments. And we're starting to get a little bit more here, which is good. So far, we have 8 votes from last week, and there's probably a couple people that come in just to pick Ilia Topuria. But the UFC 317 main event, Who You Got, Ilia Topuria, Charles Oliviera. Topuria at 63% and Oliveira at 38%. Now, before the fight, it was a 50-50 draw, and then a couple, I think, other votes have come in later. But we're going to check out some comments, and we had 2 comments from allegedly AUAP, which is probably from another country. Is that Australia? Something like that. What's up? How you doing? He says, okay, let's be honest here. Shouldn't write off Oliveira. That's insane. Dude's dangerous everywhere. All it takes is one move. But this new guy I am very impressed with. Power of a light heavyweight, insane and skilled. So the dude allegedly AUAP kind of doesn't know yet. And then we have another one. What is this? Irvin Flores 6284 says Charles gets dropped every fight. It's simple math. And he said that before the fight. Irvin Flores gets a gold star, and you got a heart like by me, and a like. You got double dipped on it by me for that comment, because you were correct, sir. And I picked Topuria to win this, by the way. And I just wanted to show you here, if I can find it, my picks, dude. So I got my picks. There they are. And we're going to scroll through there. So I got Talbott in round 2. Well, we're going to talk about the fights and UFC highlights and stuff, but I just wanted to show you how well I did on my Topuria Oliveira UFC 317 picks on UFC 5. Hope you guys enjoy the little background, because we're going to flip back and forth with some highlights and the UFC 5 from my career character and highlights from that as well. So hope you guys enjoy that as we're talking here. So there's your Who You Got segment. Now we're going to go into
some UFC news. Ready for some UFC news?
All right, here we go. So, Paddy Pimblet is in the news today because of what he said. Paddy Pimblet sounds off on an embarrassing Charles Oliveira for what happened before a devastating Ilia Topuria knockout. So, Paddy Pimblet slams Oliveira for an amateur game plan for UFC 317. Oliveira suffered a crushing first-round knockout. We've already talked about that. We've seen that, and we're going to be covering that here in a second. But Paddy the Baddy basically just saying that he had a horrible game plan for coming into this fight. But like I said, like the guy said, Irvin Flores, he doesn't have a really good chin. And if you can clip him, you can drop him. And that obviously is what happened with Topuria. But he's got cannons. and he can take you down, and he can submit you. Doesn't matter where it goes. But he says standing in front of him and getting punched in the face, first 30 seconds he did a little bit, teeped him, leg kicked him, and I thought it could be a tough night for Topuria. But when Oliveira was walking out, I thought he looked nervous. I'd like to know what the game plan was. What are you doing just standing in the middle? And that's what Paddy the Baddy was talking about. He also said, it blew my mind how stupid he can be. It was his 47th pro fight, and he was going in there like an amateur. So that's another thing, quotes, that Paddy Pimblet said. He's starting to run his mouth. Have you seen Paddy Pimblet recently? He goes up, he like bulks up. I wouldn't say bulks up. He blows up to like 195 pounds. He has to lose like, what, 50 pounds? 40 to 50 pounds to get back down to 155. That's freaking insane. He can do that now because he's young. Once you get older, it's not going to happen. All right, so let's go to the next topic of conversation, shall we? We're done with Paddy. Get out of here. Now we're going to get into some somber news. So we're going into Ben Askren. And he, you know, the whole story, I don't know exactly the whole story, but I guess he collapsed or something like that, or his wife found him or something like that. He had to go to get rushed to the hospital. And as we're going to see some highlights here, Funky Ben, Mr. Funky. So he had to get a double lung transplant, and his wife says that he's like incredible shape. He doesn't even like drink. He doesn't do anything. He's never done drugs. Never done nothing in his entire life. He's a good guy. He's a good Christian guy. He has a bunch of camps that he opened up in Wisconsin. That's where he's from. But every new day he has is a gift. This is what his wife said. So according to his wife, he had received a double lung transplant, and I think her name is Amy. She's been Amy Askren. She's been providing all kinds of updates for us. And here's another quote here. We are so thankful to share that Ben has received a double lung transplant. We are forever thankful to the donor and his family. This is the beginning of a new lifestyle for Ben, but every new day he has is a gift. It still doesn't feel real that he was walking around completely healthy just 5 weeks ago. So much can change so quickly. Please keep Ben in your prayers that his body welcomes the new lungs as if they were his own. I am constantly in awe of all the people carrying us through right now. I can't wait to tell Ben all about it. And then I'm hoping that in coming weeks, Ben will be able to give the next update, but hopefully he will wait until the drugs wear off. So he was on a ventilator, all the stuff, some kind of ECMO machine. The MMA community has been thoughts and prayers out there. It's pretty cool. Even Askren's past opponent, Jake Paul, planned to help Askren out for his surgery. So that's what Jake Paul was saying over his win over Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. And he's actually, another side note, Jake Paul is actually ranked in a WBA boxing federation there. Anyway, so we're talking about Ben Askren, and one hell of a fighter, one like in all aspects of life. I'm just really glad to see that there's actually a good news story behind all this. It looked really doom and gloom there, but it's good to see that he got his double lung transplant done. He's got everybody in his corner, and I think he's 40 years old, so he's a little bit younger than me. I'm 41, and dude's a freaking beast. He's a stud. Everything that he's accomplished in his career, and you know, I'm just prayers out to him and his family. And like she said, like Amy, his wife, Amy said that hopefully his lungs can, you know, do well with his body and all that stuff. So I just kind of get a little long-winded here so you guys can watch his highlights and everything else. Dude's a freaking wrestling Division I champ and all that. So hopefully you guys put your thoughts and prayers out for the funky Ben Askren. All right. Are you ready for the next one? Because I'm ready. And we're talking about the pound for pound fighter here. MMA pound for pound rankings. Islam Makhachev or Ilia Topuria. Who tops the charts? And it is up for discussion, finally. And because John Jones is up there, but he's vacated. He's gone. He's retired. Not even vacated. He's retired. So Islam has been the pound for pound fighter, and he's been the king for the past 600 days. 600 days. Islam has been a freaking pound for pound best fighter in the world for the UFC. But Ilia Topuria wanted Makhachev to have a legacy fight, but it didn't happen. Could be now he'll have to settle for claiming a vacant lightweight title by scoring a knockout of the year contender against the Hall of Famer Charles Oliviera. Now we're going to be talking about this, but this is just some highlights here. But Charles Oliviera becoming one of the just 10 fighters to hold a UFC championship in 2 divisions. So Ilia Topuria, only the 10th fighter to win and hold multiple belts in the 2 divisions. So beating Makhachev would have put him at a number 1 spot, even though he got at the number 1 spot. So some have Ilia Topuria all the way at the number 1 spot with Islam second. So that's pretty crazy. So the undefeated Topuria has made a compelling case. He knocked out Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway. So he's beat everybody to like the top 3, top 2 in the UFC. It's freaking crazy. So there's a lot of people that gave votes to Topuria. There's a lot of votes that went to Alexander Pantoja. There's some votes that obviously went back to Islam. But long story short, the pound for pound rankings can be a big argument again after Islam holding it for 600 days. And then John Jones retiring and getting out of there. But Tom Aspinall said that he was going to retire Jones without even fighting him, and sure enough, he did. But trying to go through a show without saying John Jones, but too bad we didn't. All right. So, who is your pound for pound fighter as of right now? Are you going for Islam or are you going for Ilia? Let us know in the comments. All right. So now we're going to be talking about, that was your UFC news. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm awesome. All right. Anyways, now we're going to go into the fights. I'm going to go off the top of the dome piece here and try to rehash each and every fight as we switch back and forth for the highlights and my highlights. So we got a couple different highlights that we're going off of. So off of the first fight in the main card, it was against Peyton Talbott versus Felipe Lima. And if you saw my fight picks off the UFC 5, and if you watch me on Twitch and all that stuff, you'll see it as well. So I had Peyton Talbott. I think I had him by knockout, but I'll take the 250 points to get me the fighting win. So I've been asking people too on Instagram, what in the world is that in short YouTube stories and stuff, shorts? What's the tattoos? I guess it's like some anime something or something like that. I'm not sure, but he had 97 total strikes landed with 59 significant strikes. Went back and forth for a little bit. Felipe Lima was trying his hardest, but Peyton Talbott, he's shown a lot of growth. I mean, if someone took him down, he wouldn't be able to get back up, and he wasn't that great at it. But now he has been working diligently in the gym with his ground game. That is for certain, because he straight up dominated Lima in all 3 rounds, in my opinion, and it was a 29-28 unanimous decision victory over Lima. And now, before the fight, he was actually a dog. He was at a plus 135 to Lima's minus 160, and that's taken into account because Peyton Talbott, they didn't think that he can wrestle with Lima. And they thought Lima was going to be able to take him down and submit him pretty easily, and that wasn't the case. He actually had more control time with 4 minutes and 49 seconds there. Had some leg kicks and some body kicks, but mostly to the head. 48 shots to the head. But that does count for on the ground as well. So, really good fight at bantamweight. Look out for Peyton Talbott as he continually gets better and better each fight. All right, so now we're going to go up into the lightweight. And this one was also a unanimous decision. I was kind of getting nervous as we went into the main card. I was thinking that it was just all going to be decisions because the prelims were a freaking banger, dude. Even the first fight was a freaking banger. We're going to get to the fight of the night here in a second, which you would have thought the one. What was the one that was a really good one too in the prelims? But anyways, I digress. We're going to talk about Benal Dariush versus Renato Moicano. This is the fight that I actually lost. So I was kind of a little upset about it. But it's okay. I digress. Nice leg kick there. He circled there. Moicano's trying to get involved with the head kicks, but the leg head shot, but the leg kicks and the punches and everything else that Dariush was doing was really good. Moicano kind of had him to the ground, but didn't really do anything. Stand up was doing really good. You can tell that Dariush's power was definitely getting through. And then there's some ground and pound as well, as they were doing some grappling exchanges. Dariush was taking him to the ground. Here's some stats. This is the Pick'ems fight, a -115 for Dariush and a -105 for Moicano. So you didn't know who was going to take, but the control time definitely went to Dariush with 5 minutes and 53 seconds. There were 16 leg kicks against Moicano, 10 body kicks and 30 head kicks. So he was really mixing up a lot there as his arm goes up for the victory. And 29-28 unanimous decision. Which that was like I said, that was the only fight that I lost on my pick'ems. And we're gonna fast forward here to flyweight. Hope you guys are ready for this, because this fight was the fight of the night. This was Joshua Van versus Brandon Royval. So as we're trying to get the highlights here, and sorry I don't have like a video highlights, it's just basically picture highlights, but they go back and forth, a lot of punches, a hell of a lot of punches, and it was an even matchup with a -120 going to Van, but at the close for pre-fight it was pretty much a toss-up fight, and it did deliver. This reminded me of Forrest Griffin and what was the other guy? I keep forgetting his name. He just passed. Stephan Bonner. He just passed away like a year or two ago. God rest him, and rest in peace, Stephan Bonner. But one of the best fights ever in the UFC was that UFC 1, or I think it was the Ultimate Fighter 1, something like that, where it was Forrest Griffin versus Stephan Bonner, and it was just a banger, dude. And that reminded me of this, and it was insane. 468 total strikes just for Brandon Royval. 311 total strikes. So that was a 4, 5, 6, 7, almost like what, 800, almost 800 strikes in a fight. I think it set like a record, or it was very close, like got second or something like that for the most strikes in the UFC. And this is a 3-round fight. And you can just tell that Joshua Van was a little bit more, I wouldn't say experienced, but had a better boxing. Had a lot better boxing. As Brandon Royval was just basically just throwing straights, it seemed like, and then doing a little bit of kicks, but he got away with his kicks late. But there was 29 leg kicks for Joshua Van. It was all stand-up the whole entire fight. It was a freaking banger. 37 to the body, 138 to the head for Joshua Van. 204 significant strikes. And Brandon Royval actually had 215 significant strikes. So, but he did throw a lot. He was, especially in the beginning of the fight, he was just throwing out there just to see this. I don't know what he was doing, but he was just basically throwing his hands out there just to stay busy. Try to keep Joshua Van guessing. But Joshua Van has incredible stand-up, incredible boxing, and he put it on display there. And do you think Joshua Van, I think that was the #1 contender spot. Brandon Royval was #1. Does Joshua Van get to go fight for the title for the flyweight against Alexandre Pantoja? That's what they had. I know that they get all excited after the fights. I don't really. Do you like that though? Do you really like when a fighter like wins and then brings someone up from the crowd and then on the stage? I don't know if I really like that, just to be honest. I'm not sure. I mean, if I was a fighter, dude, I just won my title, man. I'm not going to be sitting out here. You're taking the glory away from me to bringing this chump up here, but Joshua Van is not a chump. But I'm just saying. Now we're going to go into the flyweight when we just talked about Alexander Pantoja versus Kai Kara-France. Now, do you think Kai Kara-France is a poser? Because I posted that. Because I don't really think is he really, it's like my grandpa's is like my great-great-grandpa was a Native American. That makes me a Native American and be wearing evening. And that was Ilia Topuria taking on Charles Du Bronx Oliveira. Alright, so here it is. Had a little bit of control time, but the fight didn't last very long. So it's funny because it says victory by punch. It was like a 2-combo KO, dude. 2-combo KO is what I'm going to call that. So Charles Oliviera actually tried to do a couple takedowns, and it didn't happen. How cool is Ilia Topuria's freaking shorts, though? Those shorts are freaking sick. I said it in the last show, and I want to buy those shorts. But anyway, so he goes with the right, goes with the left, drops him to the ground. He was already knocked out off that first right, and then does a little follow-ups to call it a night, but gets the knockout. Topuria, I think, as of right now, is the best pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world. And he's not getting enough props, and he hasn't been. He's a 2-belt champion in 2 divisions, vacated to go up to lightweight. Everybody was saying he was going to be too small. When you looked at him standing next to Charles Oliviera in like the weigh-ins, dude, I was like, Charles looks like he's like 6'5", and Topuria looks like he's 5'4". I was like, Charles Oliviera looks like a freaking giant. But you know what? Looking back at Topuria's previous fights, he's fought everybody he fights is like taller than him. It doesn't do anything. His wife's beautiful. He's got a cool kid. Kid's all dressed up, looking decked out during the fight. If you watch UFC Embedded, has a really good family. He's there with his family. Has plenty of time to spend with them as he's training. He just seems like everything's got put together for him in his life, in the octagon and outside the octagon. And props to him. God bless him, and I hope he continues on a tear, and then possibly gets to fight for Islam. But I think Islam actually vacated, and he moves. I think he's moving up to welterweight to fight Duplessis or something. That's middleweight. But anyway. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Hope you guys enjoyed the highlights. Make sure, just to give you a reminder, make sure you check out Who You Got segment Friday morning. I'm dropping it around 6 a.m. on Friday. I don't know about tomorrow because it's 4th of July. But I'm going to drop it tomorrow. Well, we're not doing it because we don't have any fights. No fights for this weekend. Boom, boom, boom. Check out next week Who You Got segment. Make sure you comment. Like, share, follow, subscribe. Love you guys. God bless. Tip the waitress.